day, Mr. Martinez. I am Lovell G. Famubo. My groupmates and I are assigned to report about sentence patterns. Without further ado, I'll begin with what is sentence patterns. Sentence patterns is an arrangement of words. This arrangement needs to be grammatically correct structure. It means the placement of verbs and nouns should be correct to form a meaningful sentence. Apart from that, there are punctuations which play an important role in making sentence readable and understandable. Without the correct placement of words, you cannot express your thoughts properly while speaking. Same way, without the use of proper punctuations, you cannot express your thoughts effectively in writing. Note that the structure and pattern differ for different languages. Sentence patterns are made up of phrases and clauses. A phrase is a group of connected words, but it is not a complete sentence because it is missing a subject and or a verb. Phrases are just one component that makes up a complete sentence. A clause, on the other hand, contains a subject and a verb. There are two types of clauses, an independent and the dependent. An independent clause is a complete thought. It can stand alone as a complete sentence, while the dependent clause cannot stand alone as a complete sentence even though it may contain a subject and a verb. It begins with the subordinating conjunction like because, when, while, after, and many more. Just about all the sentences in the English language fall into 10 patterns determined by the presence and functions of nouns, verbs, adverbs, and adjectives. The patterns are most easily classified according to the type of verb used. Verb being pattern use a form of the verb to be as the main verb in the sentence. For example, is, are, was, were, has been, have been, and had been. Linking verb patterns use one of the linking verbs as the main verb in the sentence. The linking verb is followed by a noun or adjective to function as subjective complements such as smell, taste, feel, look, seem, become, appear, and grow. Action verb patterns use one of the many action verbs as the main verb in the sentence. The action verb may be intransitive or transitive. For example, see, buy, jump, embrace, imagine, think, plummet, etc. Terms to identify various parts of each sentence pattern include the following. NP is a noun phrase. This abbreviation refers to a head word noun and its modifiers functioning as subject, direct object, indirect object, subjective complement, or objective complement. NP1, NP2, NP3 is the designations for different noun phrase functions. Numbers in sequential orders are used with each NP to designate its difference from or similarities to other NPs before and after it. V-BE is verb of being. LV is linking verb. V-INT is intransitive verb. V-TR is transitive verb. ADV/TP is adverbial of time or place, and ADJ is adjective. Now that we know what is sentence patterns, let's move on to the importance of it. Many English learners have spent a lot of time studying the parts of speech, nouns, verbs, adjectives, for example. But sometimes studying the English sentence from a larger perspective is very useful. One way to get a bigger view of English is to study common sentence patterns. Understanding and mastering common patterns will not only help you do better on grammar tests, but improve your writing skills too. Just like what I've said earlier, without the proper use of punctuations, you can't express your thoughts effectively in writing. When you are writing an assignment, the pattern and structure of a sentence will be the most important thing for you to consider. In order to make your sentences meaningful and effective, you will have to learn how to make correct sentences by using different patterns. And that's the end of my discussion. Now, let's hear the next reporters.
Good day, Mr. Martinez. Our report is all about sentence pattern. The first sentence pattern is subject plus verb of being plus adverbial. Let us define what is verb of being and adverbial. Verb of being shows a state of existence. For example, was, is, has been, will, etc. While the adverbial is an umbrella term that covers all adverb forms, whether single forms, phrases, or clauses. Adverbial that modifies or defines the noun or the subject is usually placed at the end of the sentence. For example, Marie-May is cooking here. Marie-May is the subject, is the verb of being used. Here is the adverbial that indicates the place. It can also indicate where or when as prepositional phrase, not just a single word. For example, Marie-May is cooking at the kitchen. Marie-May is the subject, is the verb of being used, and at the kitchen is the adverbial that answers the questions where. The next sentence pattern is subject plus verb of being plus adjectival. Adjectival is an umbrella term that covers all adjective forms, whether single forms, phrases, or clauses. Adjectival is related to or used as an adjective. For example, Marie-May is kind. Marie-May is the subject, is the verb of being used, kind is the adjective that used as a subjective complement. Adjectival phrases can also used as a subjective complement. For example, a tall, smart, and handsome Daniel Padilla was spotted at the airport. Daniel Padilla is the subject, was is the verb of being used, a tall, smart, and handsome is the adjectival phrase that used as a subjective complement. Next is subject plus verb of being plus nominal. Nominal is an umbrella term that covers all words that function as a noun, whether single forms, phrases, or clauses. A nominal group of words is widely regarded as synonymous to noun phrase in other grammatical models. For example, Marie-May has been a professional instructor in past 30 years. Marie-May is the subject, has been is the verb of being used. Professional instructor is the noun phrase that used as a subjective complement. The second noun phrase received the same numerical designation as the first noun phrase because the two noun phrase is the same as the subject.
I'm Eliza Nicole L. Katakutan, and let's move on to subject plus linking verb plus adjectival. Let's discuss again the subject. The subject is a noun functioning as one of the components of the clause. Next is linking verbs. Linking verbs is the one who links the subject to a subject complement. Adjectival is a subject complement. Let's go to the examples and let's use the linking verb looks. Aunt Julie looks elegant. So the subject there is Aunt Julie, the linking verb is looks, and the subject complement or the adjectival is elegant. The next example is the food on the table looks delicious. The subject there is the food and the linking verb is looks and the subject complement or the adjectival is the word delicious. Let's move on to subject plus linking verb plus nominal. So let's discuss nominal. Nominal describes words or the group of words that work together and function as a noun. Intransitive verb. Intransitive verb is a verb that has a complete action without a direct object. Have an example. The teacher is an old lady. The chair is shiny. So the nominal gives more context to the subject. So the teacher is not only a teacher, but she is an old lady. The chair is not only a chair, but it is a chair that is shining. Let's move on to subject plus verb intransitive to intransitive verb. Verbs that can be transitive to intransitive way is also called ambitransitive. Let's have an example. She plays. It has an intransitive form because there is no direct object. She can play toy, she can play an instrument or other than that. The next example is she plays guitar. In these sentences, it has a direct object. So this is a transitive verb.
Good day everyone, my name is Maria Roche A. Macaheto and I will be discussing about the sentence pattern of subject plus transitive verb plus direct object and subject plus transitive verb plus indirect object plus direct object. So first, let's identify what is transitive verb. Transitive verb is not just a normal verb that indicates action. Transitive verb demands object to receive the action. For example, please bring notebook. Please is the subject, bring is the transitive verb, and the notebook is the object which receives the action of transitive verb. So, if there is no object in the transitive verb, it becomes intransitive verb, which is the opposite of transitive verb. Intransitive verb does not require any object to receive the action to make the sentence have sense. For example, she runs, she dances, she paints, she kicks. There are two characteristics of transitive verb. First, the action verb, which this is a verb that describes the action. For example, walk, run, jump, sing, dance, write, clean, eat. And second is the direct object. It is something or someone who receives the verb. Let's go to our sentence pattern, which is subject plus transitive verb plus direct object. The example sentence is Marie painted the Chanel bag. Marie is the subject, painted is the transitive verb, and the Chanel bag is the direct object who receives the verb. For additional knowledge, the advantage of transitive verb pattern is you can transform it into a passive sentence. For example, the Chanel bag was painted by Marie. The direct object in our first example, which is the Chanel bag, becomes the subject, and the subject, which is Marie, the doer, is typically relegated by a prepositional phrase at the end of the sentence. By this, it de-emphasizes the doer and emphasize what is done and to whom. So, let's go to our next sentence pattern, which is subject plus transitive verb plus indirect object plus direct object. Indirect object is an object that affected indirectly by the verb, or in simple words, indirect is the one who receives the direct object. So, our example sentence is Mr. Rodolfo thought us new ideas. Mr. Rodolfo is the subject, thought is the transitive verb, as is the indirect object, and new ideas is the direct object. So for us to understand more, let us find first the verb. It is the thought. Mr. Rodolfo thought what? New ideas, and it becomes the direct object. And who receives new ideas? And it us, and it becomes the indirect object. As you can see in the sentence, indirect object comes first before the direct object. Always remember that direct object answers the question who, whom, and what, and indirect object answers the question to whom, and for what.
I am Chonalyn Aranja, and finally, let's go to the object complement. It is composed of subject plus verb transitive plus direct object plus noun, or subject plus verb transitive plus direct object plus adjective. First, let's recall what is a subject. A subject is a person or a thing doing or performing the action. It can also be a noun or a pronoun. Verb transitive or VT is a verb that can take a direct object. Later, direct object will be explained. The action of a transitive verb is done to something or to someone. Its function is to make the meaning clear, and it must have a direct object who receives the action of the verb. Next is direct object. It is a word or a phrase denoting the receiver of the action or a verb. It is the thing that is being acted upon. It answers to the question what or whom. Then adjective. It modifies or describes a noun. Lastly, noun is used to identify or to name people, class, places, or things. Now, let's go to the example of subject plus verb transitive plus direct object plus noun. Shanti gave a letter to Jenna. The subject is Shanti, who performs the action. The verb transitive is gave as it corresponds to the direct object, which is the letter, and Jenna is the proper noun. Next example is he summoned Nemesis to Egypt. The subject here is a pronoun, which is he. The verb transitive is the word summoned. It also answers to the questions what or whom. So who was summoned? Nemesis, and Nemesis is a direct object. I hope you see the relationship between the two. Lastly, the noun is Egypt. Then, let's go to subject plus verb transitive plus direct object plus adjective. The student read the module diligently. The subject here is the student. The transitive verb is read. The direct object is the module, and the adjective or describing word is diligently. Now let's go to the jury found the defendant guilty. The subject is the jury, as they are the one performing the transitive verb, which is found, and the direct object is the defendant. And lastly, the adjective is guilty. If you are having trouble identifying which is a verb transitive, always remember that it is usually before or next the direct object. That's all. Thank you.